If you're not new around here, you know that I have been shifting the way I teach content strategy because while I love Instagram and it's really great for connection, it's never meant to give you content longevity. And that is exactly why I invited Elaine Timms on to Mompreneur Mastery today. Elaine is a Pinterest strategist and creator of the Evergreen Impact Method. She helps women-led businesses turn one piece of content into traffic that compounds over months or even years. So you're not stuck on the hamster wheel of posting for 24 hours of visibility. I'm really excited for you to learn from her in this episode. Welcome to Mompreneur Mastery, the place where we ditch the mean girl marketing, stop performing for the algorithm, and finally move past those generic, "Is this you?" pain points. I'm your host, Sydney O'Brien, homeschooling mom of 3, military spouse, and content marketing and messaging strategist who knows your business deserves way more than the content hamster wheel. I built my own business between phonics lessons, surprise deployments, and endless "Mom, I need you" moments, so I know exactly how to create marketing that works in the cracks of your real mom life. Around here, we're not chasing trends just for the sake of it, or faking urgency or income claims to trick people into buying. We are going to get laser clear on your message, build real trust with the right people, and create content that sells without you having to sell your soul or your sanity. If you're ready for a strategy that's connection first, fluff free, and built to fit your actual life, you're in the right place. Before we talk about the Evergreen Impact Method, can you tell us a bit about how you got started in this work?
Yes, actually, I started to dabble online in 2010, following a lot of the bro marketers because they seemed to really dominate the space at the time. Quickly realized I didn't like to follow them, so I started paying attention to other people. In the meantime, I had also started a mom blog because when I became a mother, that seemed like a logical choice. And I learned everything that I could about Pinterest from a lot of different bloggers and just people at the time. Grew its traffic, my blog I'm talking about, it grew its traffic to over 100,000 sessions. And then I realized how much I liked the strategy and I loved helping people and the excitement that they saw when they had traffic building. So I sold my blog and I went all in on my Pinterest marketing business.
That's amazing. I'm not gonna lie, I'm an Instagram person because for like personal reasons, when I was struggling postpartum, I found like a lot of great connection there. So I love it that way, but I am always so intrigued by Pinterest strategy for like marketing purposes. So part of the reason I wanted to have you on was generally just to like pick your brain, as well as like, of course, help my audience. But I personally have so many questions.
Right.
Was there a moment when it like clicked for you that Pinterest wasn't just helpful, it was like a really great like visibility tool for business?
Yeah, it didn't take long because everybody was kind of sold this idea that social media marketing was an entire marketing plan. And I was like sitting over there going, but no, but wait, what about Pinterest? And it's often overlooked. But it didn't take long to also see that people were burning out. There was no shelf life to the content, and it was just a content creation like hamster wheel all of the time. So I was like, wait a minute, Pinterest totally fits to give you a shelf life and to avoid that burnout. So that's kind of where I was even more passionate about the work that I do. And especially when it comes to moms and women, that this was actually sustainable for them.
How long would you say a shelf life of a pin is?
It could be anywhere between a couple of months and to a couple of years. I own another niche website, and its main piece of traffic comes from a handful of pins that I pinned in 2017. I do go in and make sure to update that content, but that's how long you're looking at. Now, of course, those pins can die off, but you're getting like a few months as opposed to a few hours.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for me, because Instagram is like what I do, I can get like a couple weeks or a couple months if it's like a pinned post, but it's definitely not as evergreen as Pinterest is. So yeah, I'm always fascinated by that aspect, especially as like a busy mom who has very little time for things. To start growing like a Pinterest following, is there like a set number of pins you should be like posting a week or month or?
Right. So right there, you're not actually there to build a following. That can come naturally, and it will. You will gain followers, but that's not actually the goal. What you're building is a content library that compounds in performance over time. So great news is you don't need to worry about followers because you can actually get traction. And you can simply start by pinning one optimized pin. So optimized meaning using keywords, one pin a day and building your way up. There is no magic number, but I highly recommend that one pin a day saved to your relevant boards. And then just using your Pinterest SEO is more relevant to how many pins per day.
Okay, that's good to know. And I love that. I talk about that for Instagram as well. Like there's no special number of followers. You just have to have like the quality content.
Everybody wants that number. It's something I answer all the time. Like I'm not surprised to answer it again, but it's just, it truly does not matter. You can get lots of traction with one pin a day.
Nice. Good to know. And how like cute do your pins have to be, or is it more SEO focused?
It's definitely more SEO focused. You, of course, want them to look good, but, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, because I have seen some really ugly pins perform well on Pinterest for a really long time. So who knows? So what did that tell us? That yes, aesthetics are important, but you're right. Keywords are even more important. So if you're answering what that person is searching for and you've got your like search intent down, you're going to get those clicks.
Mm-hmm. Good to know. What is one thing people keep doing for visibility that just isn't worth their time or energy, do you think, when it comes to Pinterest?
Worrying about followers, just kind of spamming the platform with their Instagram content without giving Pinterest any sort of context. Again, going back to those keywords, that's a huge mistake. Repurposing their reels. It's a completely different audience. Like Pinterest people are cold to you. They're open to meeting you, but they definitely don't know who you are. So those entertaining, more nurturing reels are not going to perform to the degree that most people think they should.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, because I've seen just from like following random people on Instagram, we'll talk about how much traction they get just from sending their or linking their Instagram to their Pinterest account. I'm like, I don't know if it would work the same, but
there is some advice out there, some people that will tell you that that's a way to diversify your links. And I'm not saying not to test it for yourself. Of course, I'm always game for that. But, in my experience and over my client accounts, the pins that link to Instagram don't get as much reach as, say, linking to your own online real estate, which is more important in my world than anything else.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Do you think, because I focus on Instagram strategy, is there a way to repurpose Instagram content to Pinterest and have it be successful?
Right. So, Pinterest has these carousel pins. I'm still testing those, so I don't have a complete amount of knowledge about that, but it's great for repurposing your carousels, just giving more context in the pin description and then making sure that that carousel pin links to something that gives even more context, because you're not there to entertain. You're there to educate, inspire, help somebody plan a moment, something like that. So they need more pieces to the story than maybe you're giving away on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Now, when you mention links to somewhere, would that just be people linking to other long form content like blogs and podcasts, or could it be specific sales pages?
Yeah, you can link to all of those. So you've got lead pages, sales pages, landing pages, lead magnet pages, blogs, podcasts turned into blogs. You can absolutely create pins for all of those links. Then the idea of, my own strategy is to always be linking to something that you own, that you can control, that doesn't go anywhere. So ultimately, all roads leading into your business ecosystem and email list would be ideal.
Right. And then I assume that would help with more backlinks to your website as well.
Yeah. So if you're ranking pins on Pinterest, you're also able to get found on Google because your Pinterest pins can get ranked on there as well. So just, all around helping you get found.
Pinterest often gets grouped in with social media. Do you view it as social media or more like a visual search type of thing? Because that's what I always kind of assume it is.
Absolutely. It is a visual search engine. This doesn't mean that they haven't had some identity crisis over the last several years and trying to keep up with, short form video content platforms. But at the end of the day, what drives Pinterest is the SEO portion and just the people that want to learn something and plan something offline kind of stuff.
For sure. And now I've heard you say before that your content isn't broken, it's just not circulating. Can you explain what that means and why it matters?
So what that means is I find a lot of people create like even a long form blog post. They'll pin it once or they'll post about it on social media once, and then that's it. Like they don't even realize that you can keep that content working for you. So in terms of a Pinterest strategy, that's creating multiple pins for the same piece of content, but perhaps that piece of content covers off several different topics. So it's making sure to target those different angles and keep the pins circulating. So that content now is working harder for you as opposed to you thinking you have to create a new piece of content all the time. You could actually take that piece of content, see that it's getting good traction, create another like long form blog post of a tiny section from it. And now you have double the content circulating for you.
I love that so much. As a very busy person who has very little time to do things, like repurposing content and is my absolute favorite. So that is very good to know.
I'd love for people to flip the script and instead of like completely creating for socials, like create that long form and then take that and go, what are those tiny little snippets that people would really enjoy on socials? And then take it from there. Like you do all the hard work first, but it's now sitting out there and then create. Like I just think it would create so much ease in people's lives, especially moms.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, I love that. That answered my next question too. So that's good. Can you walk us through your evergreen image method?
Yes. So that is my Pinterest powered visibility system. I only have just started to piece it together without realizing I was doing this behind the scenes for clients all the time. So the first thing is what I call the content core. So that's like identifying and organizing your long form content with however that is created for you. So creating also a content hub. I like to grab all of the links, put them into a content hub. That from there, I actually categorize it by content category, the stage of the funnel. So basically, it's your organization piece. What do we have to work with, right? So then from there, we're going to do the platform positioning, right? So what does that mean? How are we going to position you on Pinterest? What keywords are we going to target? What interests are we targeting? It's creating up boards and, creating a keyword bank just so that you're telling Pinterest, hey, this is what my business is about. This is what my content is about. So you're positioning yourself. So Pinterest understands that. And then again, it's that evergreen circulation piece that we just spoke about. It's a long game platform, right? So Pinterest needs continual pins in order to really start to understand what the content piece is about and also to keep your content in circulation. So this is the area where we create multiple pins per content and we are actually, targeting different angles, like I'll give you a little small example because this might fly over some people's heads, but a gardening client, for example, and if they have like a small backyard gardening layout, but that could also be like a tiny backyard, that could be a balcony, right? That could just be any small space. And so that is where you're just getting your pins circulating for all of these different search terms. And then from there, we want to make sure, of course, that we're reaping some of what we're sowing, right? So you want to make sure to have pins that are mapped out to your funnel. So for example, going back to the gardening, if I have, small garden, vegetable garden layout, and I have a couple of different options, but then I have an email opt-in that says, here's your garden layouts for a small backyard in each growing zone. Well, now all of a sudden that person's like, oh, okay, great. Yeah, like I definitely need to know that information. Boom, they sign up, right? So that's just like making sure to map out how can we get these people into your ecosystem. And then from there, you're doing what I call the insight loop. So you want to make sure what you're doing is working. So this is tracking the performance of pins and boards. It's identifying what's working and using the data that you see in your actual pin strategy moving forward. So that can be like making sure that seasonal pins actually perform at the season when they're supposed to. Did it work? Did it not work? What's always in your top 20 pins? What's another angle that we can use to get even more traffic? And so I'll cover off like the most important things to look at during metrics are during metrics. The most important Pinterest metrics to track are impressions, saves, engagements, and of course, outbound clicks. That will tell you a full picture of what's going on with your Pinterest strategy. From there, it's, rinse and repeat, add in the new content just to expand your circulation and your gold.
Awesome. I love having like a general framework for things. It makes it feel so much more doable and less overwhelming. And I definitely feel you. I somewhat recently kind of came up with my 5 steps to sales on like Instagram framework after doing it for literal years with like clients and like teaching other people. And I was like, wait, do you have a favorite client story where Pinterest became like a huge visibility engine for them?
I actually have like multiple clients right now where it's like the main visibility, but I'll tell you about a client where I was like a little bit iffy about taking them on. I was like, wow, I don't know about this niche. It was actually in the red light therapy, which I knew there were searches on Pinterest, but just to see the amount of traction they got on Pinterest was just like, whoa, like mind blowing. So that's like actually one of my favorite stories to tell because I often get asked, well, like Pinterest is just for like recipes or, like DIY stuff, but it's truly not. And so I think at the end of the day, anybody that's listening needs to go and check to see what's being searched within their niche because you will be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, definitely. And what kind of results can people like realistically expect and how long does it take to see traction? I know it's like a very
Yeah.
nuanced kind of thing, but is there like a general
So generally
window?
speaking, when I'm talking to clients and they're interested and they're just trying to determine whether or not to come on, is that growth truly happens at 6 to 9 months. Now you will start to see growth, but it's the growth that you're looking for, where you're getting a pretty good amount of clicks. Pinterest really understands what your account is about and is trusting your content and your website and really pushing it out. So 6 to 9 months, but honestly, it can take up to a year. But I don't want that to scare anybody because Pinterest is more of like an investment, right? So over time, you're going to compound. But again, after like 3 months, you're going to start seeing the green. You're seeing the bars all going up. But yeah, you got to be in it for at least, please give it like 6.
Yeah, but it definitely seems like the payoff is there if you're giving it that amount of time, knowing how evergreen those pins are. So
Right.
definitely
Because
seems
you
worth
gotta
it.
think of it, like you don't need to be camera ready. You don't need to dance. You don't need to do any of those things. You have something that like you went and took a week's vacation with your family and you want to enjoy the beach with your kids. Well, that's working in the background. Right. And I know you can post on social media too by scheduling it, but it's just nice to know that it's just always working, whether you're there or not.
Yeah, and like working for longer periods of time too. That's, yeah, very nice. All right. And you've built a business that works around your life, not the other way around. What has been like the most rewarding part of that?
The most rewarding part is literally being able to design my days as I want, which was the goal from the onset. Like I was never a person that wanted my kids to go to daycare and do all of those things. I wanted to be a present mom. So the ability to, just grow it the way that I wanted and keep it sustainable. I've never worried about scaling and going in on all of the strategies right off. The business has really allowed me just to grow the way that I want and be present in my actual life. And then as my kids get older, it's going to be interesting enough and keep me going so that I can grow it into whatever I want.
Yeah, definitely. I feel the exact same way. How old are your kids now?
So they are 8 and 5. And
Okay.
it's just, I get to pick them up from school. I get to be there. Like if there's an assembly and one of them got an award, that happened a couple of times during the school year. I can take,
Yeah.
off at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Just that flexibility and freedom that you can't. I don't know if there's enough money in the world to replace that.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. My kids are almost 5, 6, and 8. So like very similar. And being able to like be there, those like random sick days and like doctor's appointments and whatever is truly amazing. My husband is also in the military, so we move a lot. Being able to like stay home when we first move and get everyone like acclimated and all of that is very important.
It's so nice, right? Like, and thank goodness we have that as an option and in this day and age. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I remember we kind of had that when I was a kid. My mom worked like at a school, so she had like summers off and stuff, but it was still a little different. Being able to like completely create your own schedule and be home and is just 10 out of 10 recommend.
Like, after we were this podcast, I'm going to go for a run. Like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't do that at a 9 to 5. And I quickly learned about myself while I was in corporate before making the transition that I just knew I couldn't do this for the rest of my life. Like, I can't have a boss, a schedule, and you can only take this amount of time for lunch and all of that. So that doesn't work.
Yeah, definitely not for everyone.
No.
For sure. Now, for the mom listening who knows Pinterest could help but keeps putting it off, what would you say to her?
I would say go on Pinterest because you're likely putting it off because you're not sure if it's going to work. You don't think probably that your business belongs on there. If I had to bet money on it, it would be that. So I would invite them to go on and do some searches, see what people are searching around, and then get excited about it. Go over to my website and grab my free strategy guide. It will give you an overview how everything works and the important things to get in place. And it's a great way to get started.
Perfect. I was going to ask about that next. So I will definitely have the link in the show notes for everyone to grab it. And then can you just let us know what your website is as well?
Sure. I can be found at elainetims.com. And from there, you can check out, I've got services. I just do DIY services, done for you services at this point. We'll see in the future if I'll offer more. But that's, you can grab the strategy guide. That will also mean that you're joining my Evergreen Impact newsletter where I share all of my bits and bobs and interesting pieces weekly-ish. And that's where you can find me.
Perfect. I am definitely excited to check that out. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about Pinterest today.
Thank you for having me.
That's it for this episode of Mompreneur Mastery. If you're building a business around your life, not the other way around, and you're tired of being told to hustle harder to make sales when you're already hustling at 110%, I hope this gave you a breath of fresh air. And if it did, I would love it if you left a quick review or shared this with another mom entrepreneur who is ready to market with more strategy and way less stress. And if you want to see what a cohesive content map across multiple platforms with strategic messaging looks like, check out the link in the show notes to grab your free copy of the Buyer Journey Content Map. I'll see you next time.